On February 9, 2011, The Guardian published a striking article titled, Nokia's Chief Executive to Staff Were Standing on a Burning Platform. The piece uncovered a dramatic internal memo from then CEO Stephen Elop, in which he compared Nokia's situation to a man standing on a burning oil rig in the middle of the ocean, faced with a terrifying choice: jump into the unknown or stay and be consumed by flames. It wasn't just an ordinary memo. It was the first public admission of a reality the world was slowly waking up to. Nokia was collapsing. Just a few years earlier, Nokia stood as the ultimate symbol of the mobile phone industry. In 2007, it held a staggering 49.4% share of the global market. But then came the storm, led by the iPhone and Android. Nokia's market share began to plummet. Outdated technology, slow responses, and a series of poor strategic choices turned the industry giant into an outsider in the very game it once dominated. In just 6 years, a tech empire that once ruled the world had nearly lost everything. And now, more than a decade later, the blockchain world may be facing its own Nokia moment. This time, it's Ethereum that's at the center of it. Ethereum was once the heart of innovation. It brought smart contracts to life, sparked the DeFi summer of 2020, and fueled the NFT and GameFi boom in 2021. But in the current cycle, as Bitcoin hits new highs, Solana surges ahead, and emerging ecosystems capture global attention. Ethereum has remained oddly quiet. Ethereum is still here, still the biggest name in smart contracts, with one of the largest communities and the most battle-tested infrastructure in the space. But something is quietly slipping away. Not a crash, but a slow, silent retreat from the center of the market's attention. Ethereum's momentum has slowed. Fewer users are showing up. Its story feels less compelling, and the voice that once led the entire space now feels distant. Is this just a temporary setback before a major return, or a sign that an era is quietly coming to an end? In this video, we'll follow the subtle but undeniable signs to uncover the answer to that very question. Back in 2021, Ethereum wasn't just at the center of the crypto world, it was the stage. Every major wave, from DeFi to NFTs, DAOs to GameFi, began on Ethereum. Legendary protocols like Uniswap, Curve, Aave, MakerDAO, Yearn, OpenSea, and Axie Infinity. They all launched from its foundation. That explosive growth wasn't just hype. The numbers told the story loud and clear. By the end of 2021, Ethereum's TVL peaked at over $153 billion, accounting for more than 60% of the entire global DeFi market. Daily transactions hovered between 1 to 1.2 million, even as gas fees soared, often $20 to $50 on average, sometimes spiking past $100. And still, the network was constantly congested. There were simply too many users. The daily number of active addresses told the same story, between 400,000 to 500,000 users interacting consistently, reinforcing the feeling that everything was happening on Ethereum. Ethereum's average price hovered around $3,700, and its market cap climbed to a staggering $440 billion, bringing it closer than ever to challenging Bitcoin's throne. To put it plainly, if you wanted to build something big in crypto at that time, you had no choice but to step into Ethereum's territory. But as we enter 2025, that picture looks very different. Ethereum hasn't collapsed, but it has grown strangely quiet. Today, Ethereum's total value locked sits around $50 billion, a nearly 65% drop from its 2021 peak. While part of that decline can be blamed on the broader market correction, much of it comes from liquidity shifting to newer ecosystems like Solana, Arbitrum, Sui, and Tone, platforms with lower fees, better user experiences, and, perhaps most importantly, a stronger grip on storytelling. The number of daily active addresses has dropped, signaling that a large portion of users have either left or migrated to Layer 2 solutions. Ethereum's price has also fallen nearly 50%, hovering around $1,850, with its market cap now at about $220 billion. Even worse, gas fees have significantly dropped to around $0.20, making the experience smoother but also indirectly highlighting a harsh reality. Ethereum is becoming more and more empty. All the indicators show that Ethereum is no longer the market's focal point. While Bitcoin has broken past its previous highs thanks to ETFs and institutional inflows, and Solana and Base have risen on the back of meme coins and new builders, Ethereum remains stuck in its old price range, without any significant breakthroughs. This raises a big question. Is the market valuing Ethereum fairly, or is there something deeper changing within the ecosystem? Ironically, the rapid growth of Layer 2 solutions, once seen as a strategic move to scale Ethereum, is now slowly pushing Ethereum away from the heart of the user experience. Layer 2 solutions like Arbitrum, Optimism, and Base have truly succeeded. Fast speeds, low fees, and a great user experience. While Layer 2 has enabled Ethereum to scale, it hasn't helped Ethereum accumulate value the way Layer 1 once did. Instead of bringing more capital into Ethereum, Layer 2 is spreading it out, and while Ethereum remains technically important, it no longer plays a central role in daily user activity. Staking was once Ethereum's big hope after the merge, but after some time, the current staking yield for Ethereum is only around 2.8%, even lower than US government bonds. With crypto risks still high and the returns being less appealing, Ethereum is no longer seen as a go-to asset for stable profits. And without any yield, confidence in long-term growth is also starting to waver, especially with the fierce competition from other blockchains. In 2021, Ethereum was where everything started, the place everyone looked to in order to predict the future. But this year, the spotlight is on other names. Solana is creating its own cultural wave with meme coins, a vibrant community of young builders, and an ongoing media campaign. Ton leverages Telegram's massive user base to funnel millions of new users directly into Web3 wallets. Meanwhile, Base, with an influx of builders, is dominating the AI and meme space for newcomers. As for Ethereum, it's still focused on EIPs, testnets, and discussions around proto-dank sharding. In a market where emotions, storytelling, and experiences drive the flow of capital, Ethereum seems too mature. And when you piece all those factors together, stagnant prices, fragmented capital, weak media presence, and unappealing staking, one can't help but notice the resemblance to another major brand from the past. Nokia. There's no collapse, no hacks, no scandals. Yet every metric, every chart, every discussion all seem to be slowing down. Ethereum isn't weak, but it's falling behind in a world that keeps moving faster. And just like Nokia once experienced, perhaps the most frightening thing isn't being replaced, but quietly fading into obscurity while still existing. Ethereum isn't slowing down due to a lack of technology, nor is it losing its position because of weakness. In fact, when it comes to technical infrastructure, the Ethereum ecosystem today might even be stronger than during its peak in 2021. The successful implementation of the merge shifted Ethereum to a proof-of-stake consensus mechanism, a major step forward in terms of environmental impact and scalability. Subsequent upgrades like Cancun Deneb, Dencun, and the upcoming Pectra are significantly improving network performance. Layer 2 solutions are thriving, developer tools are more user-friendly than ever, and Ethereum's security standards remain industry-leading. But therein lies the issue. While newer systems like Solana or Ton can roll out major campaigns after just a few days of discussions, Ethereum requires time, consensus, security checks, and a clear roadmap. That's a technical strength, but a weakness in a market where speed beats stability. This makes Ethereum lose appeal to new participants. People who aren't interested in the technology but just want to know, where's the wave? It's hard to deny that expanding through Layer 2s has been one of Ethereum's smartest strategic moves. Back in the peak of 2021, gas fees on Layer 1 were a nightmare for users. A simple token swap could cost tens of dollars, and minting NFTs during high-demand drops could burn through over 100. Maintaining a decent user experience on Layer 1 was simply not viable. That's where solutions like Arbitrum, Optimism, and Base came in, offering faster speeds, lower fees, and smoother UX, all without sacrificing Ethereum's core security model. But fixing the fee problem unintentionally opened the door to a new challenge, one that few saw coming: value fragmentation. As Layer 2s evolve into nearly standalone ecosystems, liquidity and user activity are no longer concentrated on Layer 1. Instead of everything flowing back to Ethereum, users now operate with stablecoins, project tokens, or even the native assets of L2s like OP and Arbitrum. Ethereum, which once sat at the center of all activity, is now taking a back seat, mostly serving technical functions and in some cases becoming invisible in the user experience. As a result, although Ethereum's ecosystem is expanding in terms of users and transactions, the actual value captured by the Ethereum token hasn't kept pace. TVL might be climbing, and more users are showing up, but Ethereum is no longer the default for every action. It's not the asset people farm with, get rewarded in, or rally around in narratives. Compared to 2021, when Ethereum was the beating heart of everything from farming and swaps to NFT mints, its role today has been significantly diluted, and that's not the end of it. The Layer 2s themselves are starting to create a messy, inflationary environment. From Optimism and Arbitrum to ZK rollups, Layer 2s are flooding the space with incentives, airdrops, and new native tokens to compete for users, developers, and liquidity. While this may boost short-term growth within each ecosystem, it paints a complicated picture for Ethereum in the long run. Multiple tokens, fragmented ecosystems, and fierce competition for attention, all happening while Ethereum, the original token, is no longer benefiting as much as it should. DeFi, born on Ethereum. NFTs, started here. DAOs, GameFi, even DeFi 2.0, all had their roots in the Ethereum ecosystem. But today, Ethereum no longer carries a story strong enough to spark real excitement in the market. Bitcoin still has its digital gold narrative. Solana positions itself as the ecosystem for speed and user experience. Ton pushes crypto for the masses via Telegram. And Ethereum? It's still working on upgrades. To be fair, these upgrades are meaningful, but they're incredibly difficult to package into a story the market can feel. Try building a viral Twitter thread around EIP 4844 or proto-dank sharding. It's a tough sell, and when there's no compelling story to tell, Ethereum loses its grip on the most valuable resource in this space: attention. Without attention, market momentum fades, no matter how solid the tech is. An ecosystem that's actually gone viral lately, it's not some groundbreaking tech or market-shifting upgrade. It's the memes about Vitalik. From that clip of him awkwardly dancing and singing at Token 2049, to his quirky outfits, his unique way of walking, and of course that viral photo with the infamous pants, he's become a recurring joke across crypto Twitter. And sometimes when you see those moments, you can't help but laugh. And then pause to think, wait, did I really put my entire portfolio behind this eccentric, skinny guy who looks like he time-traveled straight from an early 2000s internet forum? But that very image of Vitalik also reveals something deeper. Ethereum has never been particularly good at telling a compelling story to the market. Even though it's ahead in terms of technology, even though it's still one of the most stable and decentralized infrastructures out there, it lacks one critical element: the ability to inspire. This space doesn't run on tech alone, it runs on narratives, hype, and emotions. And on that front, Ethereum is clearly being outpaced. Take Solana, for example. They're not afraid to go big with events, throw millions at hackathons, and even embrace things that used to be seen as silly, like memecoins. But it's precisely those non-technical moves that help Solana win hearts and minds. Young people aren't flocking to Solana because they've mastered Rust. They're going there because it feels alive. There's energy, there's community, and there's something happening. Meanwhile, Ethereum feels like it's stuck being the serious, quiet genius at the back of the class. Likewise, Base, despite being less than a year old, has gained surprising traction. It's riding the wave of Coinbase's massive media reach, running large-scale on-chain missions, and most importantly, offering a blockchain experience so smooth and familiar that even newcomers can jump in without feeling overwhelmed. It feels like Web 2, but on-chain. Meanwhile, Ethereum keeps moving quietly in the background, launching testnet updates, fine-tuning its protocol, and steadily building out the roll-up-centric roadmap. All of it matters deeply from a technical standpoint, but it doesn't spark excitement in the market. Another rising name that's starting to turn heads is Aptos, a next-gen blockchain that delivers an unexpectedly smooth user experience. Built by the team behind Meta's former DM project, Aptos runs on the Move programming language and can process hundreds of thousands of transactions per second, with gas fees so low they're practically invisible. But what truly sets Aptos apart isn't just the tech, it's their effort to step out of the lab and into real communities. In a space driven by emotion and connection, sometimes that's all it takes for a young ecosystem to become memorable, not just scalable. At the end of the day, Ethereum's problem isn't a lack of substance, it's the inability to tell a compelling story. Upgrades like EIP 4844, proto-danksharding, or Verkley trees are massive technical leaps. But let's be honest, yet they don't hit the same as a catchy phrase like Solana Summer, Taunt X Telegram, or the hype of a full-blown meme season. In crypto, narratives don't just shape conversations, they move money. And when a project can't control the narrative, it risks fading from the spotlight, no matter how solid the fundamentals are. That's the paradox Ethereum is facing. The chain that thinks furthest into the future is slowly losing its connection to the present moment, where attention, hype, and user mindshare are won or lost. Ethereum isn't gone. In fact, it's still here, quietly building. While newer ecosystems steal the spotlight with flashy meme coin rallies, viral campaigns, and multi-million-dollar airdrops, Ethereum takes a different route. No noise, no fireworks, just steady progress. Testnet upgrades, preparing new EIPs, expanding the Layer 2 landscape, and fine-tuning its data model. It's not chasing the hype, it's laying the foundation. And maybe that quiet maturity is part of the problem. Ethereum hasn't stopped evolving. But while the rest of the crypto world chases speed, hype, and memes, Ethereum no longer feels like the story everyone wants to tell. It's not wrong, just no longer exciting in a market where attention is the most valuable asset. Still, before we declare a Nokia moment for Ethereum, hey, it's worth remembering. Not every empire collapses with a bang. Some fade in silence. And others? They step back only to return stronger when the timing is right. With Vitalik stepping back into a more prominent leadership role, the infrastructure upgrades gradually taking shape, and Layer 2 solutions integrating more seamlessly into the broader network, Ethereum may be quietly entering a phase of rebirth. But for this rebirth to truly matter, it can't just be about the technical side. Ethereum needs a new spark, a reason for the community to look at it with the same excitement as they did in 2017, or at least the trust it had in 2021. Ethereum isn't dead, but if it doesn't learn how to revive itself in the minds of users, it may continue to exist, more as a legacy than as part of the future.